Hello there. You have known why and why not a firm expands its horizontal boundaries. Now, we take a look at the vertical boundaries. To introduce the definition of vertical boundaries, let's see some business stories first. The largest internet service provider in the United States, American Online, AOL, acquired the third largest media firm Warner Brothers into AOL Time Warner in year 2000. Under AOL Time Warner, Adam's Crush, for example, a girl band debuted. Warner Music produced their first album. Warner Brothers Network aired a program documenting the band's tryouts, 海选, and rehearsals. AOL's online platform heavily promotes them, but it is not a success. The sales of album is less than 500,000. At the same time, another teenage group, Old Town, debuted. Their production and marketing of album are made by different firms. They released and recorded on BMG. Disney broadcasts the obligatory documentary, and they received heavily public from MTV. Old Town sells 1.5 million copies, which leads their debut album a platinum one, which is over 1 million copies. This story gives us an example that integrated firms sometimes make less profit than non-integrated ones. What follows of the AOL Time Warner? 9 years later, in 2009, AOL and Warner split off in two companies. Further, Time Warner acquired by the telecommunication giant AT&T in year 2016. So, what is the matter of Time Warner's story? In industrial economics, we call the activities providing a good or service to end user, which involves a series of processes as vertical chain. As you can see, this chain may start at the top of component or material supply to the bottom of end users. To involve how many activities in a firm is the problem of the firm. There are many examples of successful vertical integrated firms. Cemex, for example, a Mexican multinational, is a highly vertical integrated firm. On the other hand, other firms' success is focused on a specific process. For example, Nike, they outsource almost all tasks in the vertical chain to independent contractors. The vertical boundaries of a firm define the activities that the firm itself performs as opposed to purchase from independent firms in the market. The problem that a firm performs the activities itself or buy on the market is called the make or buy decision. Make means the firm performs the activities itself. Buy, on the other hand, the firm relies on the other firms to perform the activities. Although in theory we call it the make or buy, in fact, these are two extreme cases on the arrangement of vertical chain. There are many forms of organizations in between. Let's put the make on the far right in the figure 3.1. It is the case what we call integration. In the far left, less integrated case is market transaction. Sometimes we say it as an arm's-length contract. If the firm want to have a deeper cooperate with the contractors, they may deal with a long-term contract. Further, firm may seek to establish a new business entity with the firms on the vertical chain. It may be joint venture or strategic alliance. Moreover, the firm establish or acquire a subsidiaries on the vertical chain with the control on the firm but bears some principal agent problems on operations. Finally, is the make. firms directly control the vertical process. As we will discuss in the following videos, the intermediate cases share some of the benefits and costs of make or buy. In a vertical chain, we call the activities in the top of the process or the activities on the top of a specific firm as upstream, and the later steps are called downstream. For example, the sports channel ESPN, who provides programs of ball games, is a downstream of the National Basketball Association (NBA). As the case of teenage groups we have discussed above, the same products do not necessarily use the same organization to produce. The homogeneous goods, like a wooden chair, also don't need to produce in the same level of vertical integrated chain. In Dongguan, there are some integrated companies that use the wood in their own forest in the southern west of China, do all the production process and sell the chair in their own store with their own branding and marketing. More other firms involved in only one activity, say assembling the chair and sell to the branding firms. Therefore, they compete for end users, the consumers in the final goods market. If the integrated firm produces more efficiently, it will outperform the independent vertical chain. Otherwise, the loose vertical chain will be a better arrangement. This is a starting point to discuss the make or buy decision. Regardless of a firm's position along the vertical chain, the firm trade-off between the benefits and costs associated with make or buy decisions. Table 3.1 summarizes the essential benefits and costs of using market firms. The benefits include the market firm can achieve economies of scale since the in-house department only produces a relatively small amount of the product. Also, market firms are subjected to the market disciplines. To survive, they must be efficient and innovative. The costs of market firm include coordination of production flows. The design and production may be compromised, or they should redesign the product to some specific upstream or downstream partners. Second, the private information or some business secrets may be leaked to the market. Third, market transaction may be with transaction costs, which include seek for proper upstream-downstream partners, negotiation the context of cooperation, contracting and bargaining when some contract terms are violated. We discuss the detailed reasoning below. Before providing more reasons to make and buy, we list 5 common fallacies of make or buy decisions. Keep in mind that they are wrong. 1. Firms should make an asset rather than buy it, if the asset is a source of competitive advantage for that firm. 2. Firms should buy rather than make to avoid the cost of making the product. 3. Firms should make rather than buy to avoid paying a profit margin to independent firms. This fallacy is often expressed this way: our firm should backward integrate to capture the profit of our suppliers for ourselves. 4. Firms should make rather than buy because a vertical integrated producer will be able to avoid paying high market prices for the input during periods of peak demand or scarce supply. This fallacy is often expressed this way: by vertically integrating, we obtain the input at cost, thereby insure ourselves against the risk of high input prices. 5. Firms should make rather than buy to tie up a distribution channel. They will gain market share at the expense of rivals. This claim has merit on some occasions, but it is used to justify acquisitions on many other occasions when it lacks merit. The first one is relatively obvious. If one asset is a source of competitive advantage for a firm, then it is more likely absent on the market. That is, you probably cannot find it and buy on the market. So, if a firm can make an asset or buy it easily, it is probably not a competitive advantage for that firm. The second argument comes from another common mistake that one can eliminate activities on the vertical chain. For example, when you buy the service of Meituan, the delivery of takeouts still here, and you pay the service instead of delivering the takeouts yourself. In either way, you pay the cost. The third fallacy comes from wrongly estimates of the cost on the activities. Use the takeout example again. You think delivering the takeout yourself pays only the gas or the energy used on cycling. This is the first mistake that one confused in accounting cost and economic cost. Whether Meituan charge too much on the service for each delivery depends on whether they can do things in a lower cost due to the economies of scale than you. You can test this is true by asking if the suppliers make so many profits and the market is open to free entry, why doesn't it exist competitors with lower price? So, capture the profit of your suppliers is not always hold. The fourth fallacy, by vertical integrating, we obtain the input at cost, thereby ensure ourselves against the risk of high input prices, can be explained by an example. Consider a fictitious manufacturer of log homes, Honest Abe Log Homes. They sell log cabins that assemble from specific milled lumber. The market price of lumber varies year to year. In the proper estimation, there are three possibilities of the price of lumber next year. It may be either $9,000, $15,000, or $21,000 for each cabin. Honest Abe predicts the demand of log cabin next year is 100. Meanwhile, the cost of assembling is $12,000 each cabin. If Honest Abe performed the lamp job itself, the cost is $4,500 for each cabin. But for this integration, Honest Abe should buy a land or forest and build a lumber mill. They borrow money from commercial bank and pay $1,050,000 for annual interest. Let's summarize this information in Table 3.2. As you can see, the cost of lumber is lower when integration as the fallacy described. They produce at the cost. And the profit is constantly $300,000. Suppose each market price has equally likely. The expected profit of buying lumber is also $300,000. It seems the vertical integration indeed eliminates the risk on market price of lumber. However, Honest Abe do not need to vertical integration. They can contract with the price fluctuation. For example, they can sign a long-term contract with the partner lumber mill with a constant or relatively lower variated price. Also, they can buy the lumber future on the future market. It is the case of firms using raw materials from mining or agricultural products. Oil future is mostly served for this end. So, if Honest Abe can raise the fund to buy forests and build a mill, they can also raise the fund to prevent the loss on short-term fluctuations on lumber price by some financial tools. The final fallacy is to tie up the channel. It is also known as vertical foreclosure. It means that by integrating with upstream or downstream to deter or fight with the competitors. There are 4 ways to vertical foreclose. A downstream monopolist acquires an upstream firm and refuses to purchase from other upstream suppliers. An upstream monopolist acquires a downstream competitor and refuses to supply other downstream firms. A competitive downstream firm acquires an upstream monopolist and refuses to supply its downstream competitors. 4. A competitive upstream firm acquires a downstream monopolist and refuses to purchase from its upstream competitors. The foreclosure extends monopolization across the vertical chain and therefore seems to increase profit. There are 2 dangers of foreclosure. 1. The competitors may open new channels. This makes the foreclosure failed. 2. To acquire a monopolist need a large amount of fee. It will hurt the profitability of foreclosure. The Chicago School of Economics argued that vertical foreclosure will not make the vertical chain more profitable, since the monopolists have earned the monopoly profits already. We have discussed the vertical chain, mainly only manufacturing. The enhancement of human resources was also considered. Let's see example 3.2. Adobe wants to train its sales the skill on the PDF standards, as those sales have a knowledge on the Photoshop. Does Adobe make this training or hire new employees from the market? A successful case of Mac is McKinsey & Company, also one of the top consulting firms. They provide mini MBA courses to new employees with many different backgrounds. But we need to check the cost and benefits of this training program. There are 2 major advantages of using markets to procuring employee skills. First, education often generates information that is useful in matching the right employee to the right employer. Not all companies need the number 1 talent. Second, potential employees often develop valuable networks with other students when attending college or graduate school. Moreover, the in-house training faces a risk of job turnover of the employee once they have the skill and they can bargain with a higher pay. This is one kind of so-called hold-up problem. So, a general skill like computer programming is better trained in school to select the right employee. Otherwise, firm-specific skill will be better trained in-house. Okay, in next video, we start with the reasons of buy and then discuss the reasons of make. Transaction cost and hold-up problem will be studied at the end of this chapter. See you then.